Okay, it looks like we're live. We're having a bit of trouble here, but I'm going to pull up my YouTube channel for a second here. So for those of you that know, for about the last month, I've been talking about why I think the Rangers have a good shot at making the World Series out of the American League and possibly winning it. But something that I've overlooked and has kind of been staring me right in the face is the Minnesota Twins. I'm going to get to them in a second. I talked a lot about them here in this video back in early January when Carlos Correa signed with them. I've been talking a lot about 52 over the past month because it's the Rangers' 52nd season in Arlington. And we just had the team from California win the Little League World Series on the 239th day of the year, which is the 52nd prime. California equals 52. So we knew that 52 is a big number in regards to baseball this year, but something that I overlooked is that Minnesota equals 52. Remember, Minnesota hosted Super Bowl 52. Tom Brady entered that Super Bowl with a 5-2 record. And I've been talking about how the World Series is definitely connected to the inaugural Major League Cricket Championship this year. And the team that won, MI New York, look how they match. Look how it matches with Minnesota in 3 out of the 4 ciphers. They're both 52, both 110, like 110 stories in the World Trade Towers. And the last time, well, okay, actually, something I want to talk about as well is I've mentioned how if the Rangers won their division and then won the World Series, they would get their 32nd playoff win. However, 32 plays into the World Series this year because, or at least in this new, I don't really want to call it a prediction, but my new thoughts. The 1991 World Series was 32 years ago. That was the last time the Minnesota Twins were in the World Series. Now, the Minnesota Twins is their 63rd season overall. I've been talking about 63 in regards to the Rangers because it's the Rangers' 63rd season. Now, for those of you that don't know, let me just pull up the 1961 MLB season. Right, so in this year, the original Washington Senators moved to Minnesota and became the Twins. And then there's an expansion with the new Senators. And those Senators eventually became the Texas Rangers. So, in a way, the Minnesota Twins and the Rangers, not only were they both the Washington Senators at one point, but they moved. The first season in Minnesota was the first year of the current Rangers franchise when they were known as the second Washington Senators. And of course, that was this. So I said this is their 63rd season. That was 62 years ago. Now, something that's interesting. I believe I brought this up in a live stream. It was one of these 2 live streams. I can't remember which, or maybe one of these 3. I can't remember which one it was. But let me just show you here. Texas Rangers. If we go back to here, this game right here. This was the final score of this game was 6-2. And that was on August 26th. Now, look at the playoff schedule for this year. The World Series begins on October 27th. I've talked about that a lot. So from August 26th to October 27th is 62 days. The Rangers won this game 6-2, 62 days before the World Series, before Game 1 of the World Series. Minnesota Twins stayed on 60. So the Minnesota Twins got their 63rd loss of the season in their 63rd year in Minnesota. And 67, well, we were just talking about the 1991 World Series. That was the last time the Twins were in the World Series. That was 32 years ago. Twins equals 32. And that World Series was against the Braves. 67. And the funny thing is with Braves in 22, the Braves, when they last won the World Series in 2021, before that, the last time they had made the World Series was 1999, 22 years later. And I've been talking a lot about 41 this year because this is the year of Skull and Bones. Well, they had the college championship game was in LA 41. Final Four was on 4/1. Stanley Cup Finals and NBA Finals both ended 4-1. There's more to it that I can't remember right now, but my point is, now look at that, the 1991 World Series. Look when it ended. It ended on October 27th. The World Series this year starts on October 27th. It's something to consider. What's weird to me about this one is I've talked a lot about the parallels between the cricket season, the Major League Cricket season, and the Major League Baseball season this year, but there were no teams in either Minnesota or Atlanta, which is kind of curious. But something that's interesting is, so the team that lost in the finals was Seattle. Obviously, Seattle is located in the state of Washington, right here, not to be confused with Washington, D.C. But we have that Minnesota-Washington connection since the Twins used to be the Senators. And the Rangers also used to be the Senators, and the finals played in Grand Prairie, which is right next to Arlington, where the Rangers play. But something that I've noticed, that I went ahead and looked at the NHL and NBA schedules for this year. I've talked a lot about how I think the World Series could end on November 1st. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. But because if it does, it'll end 4-1, which will fit the theme of the year. On that day, in NHL, you have the Stars playing the Flames. Now, this is significant because the Dallas Stars used to be the Minnesota North Stars. And the Calgary Flames used to be the Atlanta Flames. So you have Minnesota and Atlanta. And in NBA action, on that same day, you have the Wizards and the Hawks. And of course, I just talked about the Washington connection with the Twins used to be in Washington, and they're playing Atlanta. So this is definitely a new narrative to consider, especially since, I mean, the Rangers are kind of in free fall right now. I think the Rangers might even be technically out of a playoff spot. Yeah, the Twins have actually almost have as many wins as the Rangers do now. I mean, we'll see. I think right now that this Twins narrative is replacing my Rangers narrative as my favorite for the AL representative at the very least. But actually, I do want to look at the Twins for a sec because they're playing the Mets right now. We know the Mets was the team that Correa almost signed with. I don't see anything there that stands out yet, but how many wins they have? 70. Well, okay, there's probably more to look into there, but I just wanted to get my thought out there about Twins making the World Series for the first time in 32 years. potentially a rematch against the Braves because they have this connection with MI New York, the team that won the Major League Cricket Series. And if I didn't talk about it already, Major League 63, Major League Baseball also 63. There's something with cricket, and I can't remember what the cricket connection was, but it'll come back to me in a second. I think this Braves Twins narrative is definitely something to consider. We'll get more into it when the regular season is over. I might do a live stream previewing the playoffs. I'll have to see what my schedule allows, but anyways, I think that's enough for now. I wanted to get that potential narrative out there, and we'll see what happens.